A very good morning, children, and welcome back to the English online class. Children, in today's English class, we are going to start with the remaining portion of chapter number 13, that is A Day in the Country, which is written by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov. Children, in our previous online session, we have completed the first half of this chapter. Now, let us begin with the remaining portion of it. But before that, let us have a recall of the same chapter. So here are the following characters. So the main characters were Fyokla, who was a 6-year-old girl and a beggar. She shouted the uncles for help to free her brother Danilka from a tree. The second one is Terenti. He is the protagonist of the story. He is a cobbler who does not look like the hero type. He is described as a tall, old man with a thin, pock-marked face, very long legs and bare feet, dressed in a woman's tattered jacket. The third character is Danilka, who is Fyokla's brother, whose arm got stuck in a tree. He is 8 years old. Now the last main character is Silenti Silich. He is Terenti's bosom friend and the sacristan. So these were the main characters of the chapter. Now let us have a recall of what we have learned in our previous session. In a village, a 6-year-old little girl named Fyokla came running through. The village were preparing for a storm. Fyokla was asking every uncle how she calls the people in the village. Means everybody she calls uncle only. Fyokla was able to receive help from a man named Terenti, who is a tall old man with a thin pock-marked face, very long legs and bare feet, dressed in a woman's tattered jacket. He does not look hero type. So Fyokla asked to help free her brother Danilka, whose arm got stuck in a tree. Terenti agreed, disregarding the storm, to help Fyokla's brother and ensuring Fyokla in a fatherly manner that he will free him. Eventually, he freed Danilka. The children eventually loved the old man. Terenti may not look like it, but he answers all questions, and there is no secret in nature which baffles him. He knows everything. All the villagers know as much as he does, but the children love him because he is willing to share his knowledge and time with the 2 orphan children. So, children, now let us begin with the reading portion. So, here we go with the remaining portion. Her brother, a little fellow of 8, with hair as red as ochre and a pale, sickly face, stands leaning against a tree, and with his head on one side, looking sideways at the sky. In one hand he holds his shabby old cap, the other is hidden in an old lime tree. The boy is gazing at the stormy sky and apparently not thinking of his trouble. Hearing footsteps and seeing the cobbler, he gives a sickly smile and says, "A terrible lot of thunder, Terenti. I have never heard so much thunder in all my life. And where is your hand? In the hole. Put, pull it out, please, Terenti. The hole, the wood had broken at the edge of the hole and jammed Danilka's hand. He could push it farther in, but could not pull it out. Terenti snaps off the broken piece, and the boy's hand, red and crushed, is released. It is terrible. How it is thundering, the boy says again, rubbing his hand. What makes it thunder, Terenti? One cloud runs against the other, answers the cobbler. The party come out of the copse and walk along the edge of it towards the darkened road. The thunder gradually abates and its rumbling is heard far away beyond the village. The ducks flew by here and the other day, Terenti, says Danilka, still rubbing his hand. They must be nesting in the Guinea zymista marses. Fiolka, would you like me to show you a nightingale's nest? Don't touch it, you might disturb them, says Terenti, wringing the water out of his cap. The nightingale is a singing bird without sin. He has had a voice given him in his throat to praise God and gladden the heart of man. It is a sin to disturb him. What about the sparrow? The sparrow doesn't matter. He is a bad, spiteful bird. He is like a pickpocket in his ways. He doesn't like man to be happy. When Christ was crucified, it was the sparrow brought nails to the Jews and called alive, alive. A bright patch of blue appears in the sky. Look, says Terenti. An ant heap burst open by the rain. They have been flooded the ridges. They bend over the ant heap. The downpour has damaged it. The insects are scurrying to and fro in the mud, agitated and busily trying to carry away their drowned companions. You needn't be in such a taking. You won't die of it, says Terenti, grinning. As soon as the sun warms you, you will come to your senses again. It is a lesson to you, you stupids. You won't settle on low ground another time. They go on, and there are some bees, cries Danilka, pointing to the branch of a young oak tree. The drenched and chilled bees are huddled together on the branch. There are so many of them that neither bark nor leaf can be seen. Many of them are settled on one another. That is a swarm of bees, Terenti informs them. They were flying, looking for a home, and when the rain came down upon them, they settled. If a swarm is flying, you need only sprinkle water on them to make them settle. Now if, say, you wanted to take the swarm, you would bend the branch with them into a sack and shake it, and they all fall in. Little Fiocla suddenly frowns and rubs her neck vigorously. Her brother looks at her neck and sees a big swelling on it. Hey, hey, laughs the cobbler. Do you know where you got that from, Fiocla, old girl? There are Spanish flies on some tree in the wood. The rain has trickled off them and a drop has fallen on your neck. That is what has made the swelling. The sun appears from behind the clouds and floods the wood, the fields, and the three friends with its warm light. The dark, menacing cloud has gone far away and taken the storm with it. The air is warm and fragrant. There is a scent of bird cherry, meadow sweet, and lilies of the valley. The herb is given when your nose bleeds, says Terenti, pointing to a woolly-looking flower. It does good. They hear a whistle and a rumble, but not such a rumble as the storm clouds carried away. A goods train races by before the eyes of Terenti, Danilka, and Fiocla. The engine, panting and puffing out black smoke, drags more than 20 vans after it. Its power is tremendous. The children are interested to know how an engine, not alive and without the help of horses, can move and drag such weights. And Terenti undertakes to explain it to them. It is all the steam's doing, children. The steam does the work. You see, it shoves under that thing near the wheels, and you see, it works. They cross the railway line and, going down from the embankment, walk towards the river. They walk not with any object but just at random and talk all the way. Danilka asks questions. Terenti answers them. Terenti answers all his questions, and there is no secret in nature which baffles him. He knows everything. Thus, for example, he knows the names of all the wild flowers, animals, and stones. He knows what herbs cure diseases. He has no difficulty in telling the age of a horse or a cow, looking at the sunset, at the moon, or the birds. He can tell what sort of weather it will be next day. And indeed, it is not only Terenti who is so wise. Silenti Silic, the innkeeper, the market gardener, the shepherd, and all the villagers, generally speaking, know as much as he does. These people have learned not from books, but in the fields, in the wood, on the river bank. Their teachers have been the birds themselves. When they sang to them the sunset, when it left a glow of crimson behind it at setting, the very trees and wild herbs. Danilka looks at Terenti and greedily drinks in every word. In spring, before one is weary of the warmth and the monotonous green of the fields, when everything is fresh and full of fragrance, who would not want to hear about the golden May beetles, about the cranes, about the gurgling streams and the corn mounting into air? The two of them, the cobbler and the orphan, walk about the fields, talk unceasingly, and are not weary. They could wander about the whole world endlessly. They walk, and in their talk of the beauty of the earth, do not notice the frail little beggar girl tripping after them. She is breathless and moves with a lagging step. There are tears in her eyes. She would be glad to stop these inexhaustible wanderers, but to whom and where can she go? She has no home or people of her own, whether she likes it or not. But she must walk and listen to their talk. Towards midday, all three sit down on the river bank. Danilka takes out of his bag a piece of bread, soaked and reduced to a mash, and they begin to eat. Terenti says a prayer when he has eaten the bread, then stretches himself on the sandy bank and falls asleep. While he is asleep, the boy gazes at the water, pondering. He has many different things to think of. He has just seen the storm, the bees, the ants, the train. Now before his eyes, fishes are whisking about. Some are 2 inches long and more. Others are no bigger than one's nail. A viper, with its head held high, is swimming from one bank to the other. Only towards the evening our wanderer returned to the village. The children go for the night to a deserted barn, where the corn of the commune used to be kept, while Terenti, leaving them, goes to the tavern. The children lie huddled together on the straw, dozing. The boy does not sleep. He gazes into the darkness, and it seems to him that he is seeing all that he has seen in the day. The storm clouds, the bright sunshine, the birds, the fish, lanky Terenti. The number of his impressions, together with exhaustion and hunger, are too much for him. He is as hot as though he was on fire, and tosses from side to side. He longs to tell someone all that is haunting him now is the darkness and agitating his soul, but there is no one to tell. Fiocla is too little and could not understand. I will tell Terenti tomorrow, thinks the boy. The children fall asleep thinking of the homeless cobbler, and in the night Terenti comes to them, makes the sign of the cross over them, and puts bread under their heads, and no one sees his love. It is seen only by the moon, which floats in the sky and peeps caressingly through the holes in the wall of the deserted barn. So children, this was the chapter A Day in the Country. I hope that you all have enjoyed it. Now let us see the theme of this story. The theme of the story is happiness is not always measured by extravagant things or experiences, because Danilka and Fyokla are beggars. They would think that the whole world is so cruel to them. But when they see the nature after the storm in their town, there they were able to see the beauty which we in the city could not really experience. I think the moral of the story is that simplicity is the beauty. There are things that others have that you may not afford, yet there are things as well that you have which others cannot have. It is your perception. Hope you have understood the theme of the story. Thank you and have a nice day.